Bad things happen to everybody. Everybody has experienced some level of trauma or traumas within their lives. And I know that there are some who have gone through some of the most heinous things throughout their lives, within their childhoods, things that no child should ever have to experience or even witness, let alone go through continuously. But I also have to be honest because we've gotten to a place where so many people get a pass for dysfunctional and destructive behaviors that affect everybody around them, right? For example, you hear of these crimes that are committed, these heinous crimes in places like San Francisco, which is a place that I'm very well versed in, living in the Bay Area for close to 2 decades, all the way to New York, right? And all across the planet. And you have people who are, shanking people up, who are blasting people, whatever it may be, unaliving folks. And they're allowed to roam the streets or they get a slap on the wrist or whatever it may be because of these quote unquote sympathetic laws that essentially they do more to protect the criminal than they do the actual victim of those crimes because there is I'm not going to say it's all a false level of empathy, usually at the high political level, right? Like a Gavin Newsom genuinely does not care about the people he purports to care about. There may be those under him who then push some of this legislation or work in these organizations or whatever that actually do, right? He doesn't, they may, but at the end of the day, any sort of government that is enabling criminals to be criminals, that is allowing for bad behavior to proliferate, is going to encourage more of that same bad behavior. And when we don't speak out against it, for many years, I allowed so many people to get away with dysfunctional and toxic ways of being towards me as well as those around them. And I made the excuse of, well, they've been through a lot. But in truth, we've all been through a lot. And I've now had enough experiences with enough people to know that there are those who have been through the most, I'm talking about heartbreaking to a level that it's like you'll make your entire stomach twist in the damn knot if you heard some of these people's stories, and yet they were able to overcome these stories. They were able to overcome these levels of deep conditioning and programming and the things that they were told about themselves, the things that were done to them physically by people who were supposed to be protecting them. I have seen and heard enough of these stories to know that at some point an individual is going to make a decision. Who am I going to become? In spite of or because of my trauma. Like there's a popular story of two young men grew up in a house with a father who was a severe alcoholic. And one of the kids ends up becoming a severe alcoholic, a very dysfunctional individual, never gets his life together. And the other becomes a stand-up guy, a lawyer, family man, etc. And this is a true story. So both of these men are interviewed by some news broadcaster at the time, and they're interviewed separately. And so they asked the brother who became an alcoholic, like, what happened? Why did you become an alcoholic? And he said, because my father was an alcoholic. I said, okay, makes sense. Then they interviewed the other brother and said, why did you become, this person who, strive for a greater life, and you live the way that you do? It looks nothing like your past. Why did you do this? And he said, well, I became what I became because my father was an alcoholic. And I know that's a very simplified version. Again, we can't sit here for 3-4 hours. Like I don't want to drain your time, and we can get right to the point where you can really understand what I'm getting to. Though that's a simplified version, it still speaks volumes, and it contributes to the reality that we do have personal agency in our lives. One of the most destructive messages anybody can internalize is that the world is happening to you, life is happening to you. You can do nothing about your circumstances, nothing about the conditions of your life. That is a destructive message. That is a detrimental message. That's why I often speak out against the race hustlers or, the so-called woke activists, etc. Their entire premise is that the world is happening to you. It's white supremacy, it's sexism, it's racism, it's misogyny, it's homophobia, it's whatever title that you can find for yourself to hide behind and to use as a scapegoat. That's why I despise individuals who push those types of, self-imposed limitations, or what becomes a self-imposed limitation once you internalize it. I speak against these things so vigorously and prolifically, like continuously, day in and day out, because I know that this thing it's a stronghold. It's a roadblock in most people's way. People want to do better. They want to experience a greater quality of life. But when you're told that it's not possible because you just have the cards stacked against you, that's misery. That's suffering. You are essentially creating your own Groundhog's Day. You're having the same experience every single day, year after year. You are perpetually stuck. Once you realize that your actions actually affect true change, that the thoughts that you engage in and the actions that you take on a consistent basis become your habits, and your habits then form your character, and your character informs what your life becomes. Once you can connect those dots and you really believe in that in your core, you will see your life change in every area. No, it won't change overnight, but it will change over some night, right? It won't change in a day, but it will change one day. And if you continue to take those steps necessary, that's exactly where you're going to find yourself. I guarantee it. But unfortunately, we use these excuses, and we give excuses not just to others, but to ourselves, right? That's why we can allow for, well, he's just going through some things, because we also keep the same standard for ourselves. When I was in that place, is because, I wanted a little bit of leeway. Well, you don't know what they're going through, etc. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But the fact that they're violating other people, there needs to be some consequence there. We can be as empathy does not mean, or compassion. True compassion does not mean that you allow that person to continue to violate. To truly love somebody means you're willing to correct them, right? A lot of folks who watch this might be, into the good book, the word, whatever it may be for you. You know that it says in them scriptures, that it says that correction is a result of love. When God corrects you, it's due to love. I want the best for you. Therefore, I'm going to tell you the truth. I feel compassion towards you. I have compassion. It's not just a feeling. It's greater than just an emotion, a fleeting emotion. When I hold compassion, when I love you, it means that I want the best for you, which means that I'm willing to tell you a truth even if it offends you. Even if it has you turn against me in that moment, I'm okay with that. When I was an addict, I needed people around me who told me, bruh, you're messing up your life. These things are destroying you. These things are going to take your life. I needed people to tell me that. My boys, my 3 best friends who I lost to ODs, they needed somebody to perpetually tell them, this is dysfunctional. This is ruining your life. When you have people who enable you in that behavior, they help nothing. Those individuals might as well be lighting the damn pipe for you. They might as well be shooting the damn syringe into your veins for you. And again, we even talk about tough love. I don't even think it's tough love. I think it's the only true version of love, because love says, I want the best for you. That's my definition of love. My very simplified definition is, when I say I love you, it means I want the highest good for you. When I say I love me, I want the highest good for me. So if I love you, I'm going to make sure to egg on your best behavior, your best habit, your highest aspirations, your healthy habits. If I love me, I'm going to make sure to add and edify the best qualities of me. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of myself, because I have that high expectation and that high desire for myself. I want what is absolutely best. So I'm going to act in accordance. If somebody is proverbially lighting the damn crack pipe for me, that person does not love me. Maybe they want to please me. Maybe they're afraid of my retaliation. Maybe they, don't want to feel guilty or something of that nature, but that's not love. That's fear in more cases than not. It only becomes love when there's a contributing factor. Here, I want what's best for you. Okay, the best thing I can do right now is to leave you the hell alone. Sometimes that's the expression of love. I'm going to leave you in the state that you're in. At the very least, I save myself, and I can be an example of what can be done. I had to do that at an early stage in life, at 19 years old, to leave behind everybody and everything that I knew, because I would just end up becoming the very same result. And so when I left that lifestyle, as difficult as it was to leave the people who I love with my whole heart, it was only love when I stopped trying to be their savior. And one of them at least had an example of somebody. He even told me at our homeboy's funeral, he said, man, when I was locked up, all I was thinking about was the words that you used to tell me. All I was thinking about was like what you used to say, what you used to tell us. Because there was a time when I was still trying to save everybody, etc. And then I walked away and I allowed my life to continue. And, The best case scenario is that he changed his life and he chose not to live in the way that he was living. And you know what I mean? And there was an example for him to live by. That's the only thing you also owe anybody, is to be the example. That's it. It's like your children. You owe them to take care of them, but more so you owe them to be an example of what they should be. They're not listening to you. They're watching you live. They're watching how you are. You telling them kids, don't eat sugar, don't eat that, but you're indulging all day. You over there getting fattened up, but yet you're trying to tell, no, that's not how that works. You can't be a hypocrite like that. You can't be a hypocrite. You can't be double-sided. You can't be two-faced like that. Nah, but I'm grown. I can do what I want. Okay. Then your kid is going to do exactly that. They're going to mimic what you do, not what you say. You know, and that's the work. The work is on self. The work is on shifting what's in here. And again, I can see the person who is, you know, mentally ill, who's on the dope, who's whatever it is. And I can have a level of, I can actually have empathy for a lot of these folks because I know what that is. But I also say that because I love you, I'm not just going to stand by and watch you suffer. I'm not going to egg you on and let you get arrested 80 times, 47 times, like some of these damn stories that you hear. This person was arrested, 80 other times until they finally, took out somebody's grandmama, whatever it was. And it's like, what are we doing with the system where we enable crime to a point we're so falsely sympathetic to this person that we'll just let them roam the streets to hurt themselves and somebody else? Talk about the Jordan Neely situation, right? That was a young man who was arrested 47 times. Why was he out and about like that? The system had failed him. The one who was saying, well, poor guy, he's got mental health issues, etc. Why was he not in the facility? Well, they say that he actually ran from a facility, right? And so he ends up in a situation where he's threatening people's lives and saying, I'm going to take somebody's life today. I got nothing to lose. People are terrified. Mama's holding back their baby, etc. And a man steps in to be a hero in that moment. And then he's villainized. And he's almost incarcerated for being a hero. So everybody else looks at it like, oh, we don't want to even step into that situation. We have to hold this accountable. We don't have to end up in a Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely situation. It was never a race thing, by the way. Only the race hustlers use that as a race, as a matter of race. But if it was that type of situation and there was consequences, they wouldn't be that type of situation. Lock them up. One of the best things they used to do for a lot of the homeless folk is they would lock them up so they can put them in rehab, lock them up so they can take them off drugs, because most of them folks are on the dope. And the reason many of them become mentally ill is because of the dope, right? That's the part we don't like to talk about. It's poverty, it's the economy. Most of those cases, and this is from countless stories that I've gone through myself of people in these situations, how they end up there, etc. In more cases when a person ends up like that because of just hard times, like no job or whatever it is, but they're not indulging in dope or whatever it may be, that person is likely going to be on like a friend's couch. You know what I mean? Or they're going to be in a hostel. Like they'll be somewhere tucked away. And there's so many more resources than we even know for folks who are willing to clean up. But like in California, what was the bill? SB 80 or something like that, which Gavin voted against. So now you don't even have to be clean in order to be put up in one of these houses. So now it becomes a dope house. There's no rehabilitation or push towards that. That's the only way you're going to fix that. You have to fix the underlying issues. Again, if you want to get back to trauma and you really care about those factors, then let's address those aspects. But we can't take away the consequences of a person's actions. That's only going to lead them to destroy themselves even worse off. So again, I'm learning a new version of what it means to love, what it means to truly be compassionate for somebody. Is to say you got to stand steadfast in the truth of what's actually going to be best for them. You can't force it on them. And, you can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves. Some people are just going to self-destruct. But then you can't also put everybody else in danger because of that. You got a child in the house. You got 7 kids at the house. You got one of them kids who are destructive and they're choosing to continue to go down that path. You love them as much as you can. But at some point, if this is what you're going to choose to do, you're grown now. You can go ahead and do what you're going to do out there, but you're not going to bring that dysfunction into this house and have that effect upon these children, right? These ones that are still salvaged, they can still be saved.
I used to be afraid of the dark, place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. see you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up. You know them constellations. Constantly